being in these roles, especially in an HR manager role, you are always having to keep track of the changes and make sure that your company is compliant with those changes, or else you're going to be in big trouble.
There's little things like that, again, you don't know until you know, but HR experts know. We know.
Yeah.
We deal with this all day long.
We take care of the behind the scenes work so that they can focus more on their team and their business.
Why worry about all this stuff that you may not be an expert in when you can bring somebody in and save time, save money, and alleviate these risks that could be affecting your business in a negative way?
Coming to you from the Malace TV studios in Troy, Michigan, this is the Malace Cast.
All right, welcome back to the Malace Cast, the official podcast of Malace HR. I'm LJ.
And I am Sarah.
And today we've got a ton to talk to you about, but before we do, make sure to like and subscribe to this channel, as well as our pages on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok. Wow.
Yeah.
So Sarah, how are you today? What are we talking about?
I'm suited up, man.
You are.
We're ready to talk about HR outsourcing.
Okay, interesting.
So we've talked to a couple clients recently who love our staffing skills, skills with the Z. We're really great at finding the right candidates, but they didn't understand that we offer HR outsourcing services too.
Oh, what's the difference?
Staffing is going to be more putting butts in seats, finding the right candidate for you for the role that you have available. HR outsourcing is going to be focused more on employment law and making sure that you're doing things correctly and not just, I own the company, I can do what I want. That's great, but...
you can. It might not work out so well.
Right. So we can look at policies that you might need or handbooks that you might not have. We can help you with payroll taxes and things like that you probably have, a group of like 3 accountants or an accounting team and admins working on things thinking that's an HR department. It's really not. So maybe you don't want to necessarily hire somebody full-time and put them on your salary, but, kind of work with a company who is an expert in HR. That's us. It's in our name. We can come in and kind of support that endeavor, whether it's just until you get to a point where you're ready to hire somebody on, or, in the interim, if you don't have somebody that you can work with at the moment, or, we can just consult with you on where you might need to go. We have a lot of options. So we just kind of decided maybe we should throw together a podcast and talk about it. And,
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, it's a pretty good idea.
No, I tell you what, though, you're so correct, though, in the sense that a lot of mid-sized, smaller, maybe mom-pop shops are out there. They're working hard every day, trying to make a living, trying to grow their business. But there's a lot of these different facets of business that maybe they're unfamiliar with. I've seen it a number of times with maybe not collecting the appropriate amount of taxes, or not having the specific language in their employee handbook to protect them from any sort of litigation. And what happens is these families and these small businesses and medium-sized businesses are working their butts off, and then one day something strikes, whether it's with the IRS, with the taxes, or maybe litigation or a lawsuit, and they have no idea what to do, where to turn to, and how to handle it.
Yeah.
Now, I know you at one point in a previous life were a HR manager.
I was, yep.
So tell us a little bit about that. When you came into that role, what was there? What was established? Anything?
No, nothing. In fact, it was kind of like, hey, we're going to have you do this job. Also, why don't you do all the HR stuff? Okay. So I learned a lot on the fly with the HR stuff. I did a lot of webinars. I did a lot of SHRM, and I did a lot of conferences, things like that. So I learned a lot just by proxy, and it was a necessity. In fact, they probably could have used HR outsourcing rather than just put it on my plate. Hindsight. But hey, they're doing great. So I kind of learned through trial and error. And then through my career, I got hooked up with some HR experts who just taught me so much. One of the things that is great about HR is we one of our favorite keywords is compliance, right? So if you don't know, you can really do some damage. So rather than companies assuming, well, we've always done it this way, that doesn't mean you're doing it correctly, whether it's from how you gather information for I-9s or just creating a policy, making sure that you're adhering to things correctly, like FMLA, keeping up with all of the, ever-changing HR employment law that's going on state by state through the country, things like that. What can you drug test on? What can you background check on? What things can you hold employees accountable to?
Right. Even in the interview, what interview question?
What interview questions can you ask?
Because there's plenty of situations where, there's inappropriate questions and it may seem like, hey, it's a friendly question that you might have in a normal conversation. But when you're in a professional setting or an interview, those questions cannot be appropriate. And I think you hit the nail on the head here. Every state is different. Okay. Every county, and then you have federal laws, you have state laws that are ever changing. There's never been a situation where it's like, here's the employment law. We'll see in 50 years to update it. It's being consistently updated. So being in these roles, especially in an HR manager role, you are always having to keep track of the changes and make sure that your company is compliant with those changes, or else you're going to be in big trouble.
Yeah, even things like how to contest unemployment, how to get like WOTC, work opportunity tax credits. Yep. That if you've never been exposed to what it is and how to make it useful for yourself, you don't know what's out there. You could save yourself a lot of money just implementing WOTC. So there's little things like that again, you don't know until you know, but HR experts know. We know. Yeah. We deal with this all day long. It's our blood. So just having the opportunity to sit down with some companies and consult. We have our wonderful Jen, who's out in Colorado, who talks about this stuff all the time. We're going to have her on a little bit. She's meeting with companies on a regular basis who don't realize all the things that they actually could be utilizing, having an HR source out there for them to reach to.
It's really an all-encompassing solution. It's the back end, the compliance with the paperwork, dealing with employees, but then you also have the staffing part. And for me, we're an HR company. The companies that we're working with are not HR companies. They have other businesses that they're focused on. So why worry about all this stuff that you may not be an expert in when you can bring somebody in and save time, save money, and alleviate these risks that could be affecting your business in a negative way.
To speak on the risk thing, say you're a manufacturing owner or whatever, and you have somebody who's working out on your floor and they're like, hey, I got hurt. And you don't know what to do. Wait, did you get hurt here? Did you get hurt at home?
Right. What forms do you fill out?
Yeah.
Who do you alert?
Who do I send? Do I send you to this? Do I make them do a drug test? All these things, if you've got somebody to reach out to say, okay, this is exactly how you handle it step by step by step.
Yep.
It's that helping hand, right? That's the same thing with, you run into, well, I'm feeling harassed. Like, okay, great. What do you do? And if you've got that HR outsource that you can reach out to, and, we're 24/7, so you can reach out to us anytime.
Yep.
And we're going to be like, this is how you handle that situation. We're going to keep you in compliance. We already know what your policies and procedures are. So we're going to be able to jump right in and know who you are and what you're doing, be able to move you in a direction that keeps you within compliance, but also helps you maintain the integrity that you're trying to maintain as an owner of a company.
Right. Yeah. I think about like if an employee was to get into a car accident in their own time on the weekend versus if an employee was to get in a car accident on company time, perhaps on company property or with a company vehicle. These are all different situations that require different responses that without the proper knowledge or wherewithal, you could be setting yourself up for some devastating lawsuits or other types of consequences down the road for sure. So Sarah, I know we've been talking a lot about different HR services out there, some myths and other things. We did bring on an industry expert, our very own Jennifer Gabriel outside of Colorado area. So Jennifer, thank you for taking a little time to answer some questions. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you.
So we had a couple questions here. I'll start off first. What is the biggest pushback about getting outsourced HR services?
Good question. Honestly, I usually hear two main concerns. The first is control. A lot of business owners worry that they're going to lose touch with their people or their culture if they hand off their HR. But it's actually the opposite. We take care of the behind the scenes work so that they can focus more on their team and their business. The second is cost. But that's where most companies are pleasantly surprised. With us, you're getting the expertise of a seasoned, fully staffed HR department for just a fraction of the cost of hiring in-house. It's affordable, it's scalable, it gives smaller companies access to the same high-level HR support that large corporations enjoy without big company overhead.
So it sounds like quite the advantage for some of these smaller companies.
Yeah, no kidding. So what kinds of companies are benefiting from these services? Like who are you talking to and kind of finding that are really in need of HR support even when they don't know it?
Sure. It's usually those small to mid-sized businesses, usually between 5 and 100 employees. They've maybe grown enough that HR is starting to take up too much time, but they're not quite big enough yet to justify having a full HR team. What makes outsourcing so powerful is the scalability. Again, our services and even our pricing grow with you. Whether you've got 10 employees today or 50 next year, you only pay for what you need when you need it. So you're going to get enterprise level HR expertise, compliance support, and benefits administration at the price that makes sense for your size. And it's like having a full HR department on call without the full-time cost.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I guess this would probably be the next biggest question they would ask is, what is the timeline typically for getting set up? What does this process entail?
Sure. It's actually really very quick and easy. Once we connect, one of our team members or myself will sit down with you either virtually or in person. And we're going to go through a simple checklist. We review things like your current handbook, policies and procedures, payroll setup, benefits, employee count, things like that. And then from there, we're going to handle the heavy lifting. After that initial review and assessment, we move right into implementation and onboarding, which usually takes just a few weeks. It's a smooth transition. And then once you're set up, you have full HR support immediately. We've made it as seamless as possible so that business owners can get relief and get back to focusing on what really makes sense. That's running their business and building revenue.
Well, awesome. Seems easy enough. Jennifer, thank you so much for the time. Looking forward to chatting with you soon. We wish you the best of luck and hopefully have a lot of success getting out there with companies and working with different HR services. So thank you again.
Thank you so much. Same to you.
Love the fact that we get a chance to have a local expert. I guess, well, she's across the other side of the country, but
she's American.
Damn right she is.
Expert.
God bless America. Okay. No, but I think this has been a really good conversation, and let's kind of end it on a little bit of a lighter note, if we will. Okay. I was thinking we could debunk some of the myths.
We do love debunking.
I'm a big debunker.
Yeah.
I do it in my free time. So the myth number one, excuse me, I will lose control of my company culture. What do you have to say to that?
Well, although our services are comprehensive and we can come in and help with culture and things like that, we're not trying to impart our culture onto you. We're trying to impart whatever it is that you want to do into your culture. So maybe you're having a hard time getting people, maybe you're having a hard time with turnover, for instance. Well, let's dig into that and see what it is. We can provide a lot of analytics that'll show, say, a wage analysis, for example. Well, yeah, you have a lot of turnover because there's all these other companies in your area that are paying $2 to $3 more an hour for jobs. So let's dive into that. Maybe your company culture is, you have, again, let's go back to those wonderful accounting people and they bring in donuts once a week and you call it a company culture. Well, let's start talking about how you could maybe
improve your culture.
Yeah, improve your culture a bit. So I think there's more opportunity to improve upon your culture or even help you create your culture than to ever take it over or for you to lose it.
Well, and at the end of the day, we're an ancillary service. You're still in charge. You're still managing your employees and your vision and building that culture for yourself. I mean, we're simply in the background helping with the paperwork and making sure you guys don't get sued or anything like that, Exactly. So as far as a cultural standpoint or an impact on the way you guys operate, we're here to make your lives easier, not to completely take over or do anything like that. Ideally in a perfect world, you really shouldn't even know we're there.
Yeah, that's right.
We should, if we're doing our job correctly, you shouldn't even realize that we're even a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And the second myth, it's only for big companies or it's too expensive. Now, I'll start with this one because most big companies already have HR services,
right.
So it's actually quite opposite. It's mainly for a lot of smaller, mid-sized companies. Now, obviously, we can work with those big companies that do need assistance, and there are opportunities there. But really, right now, our focus is on those small to medium-sized businesses, those mom-and-pop shops who don't have any infrastructure in place whatsoever.
Yeah. Maybe you've just started out with an idea and it's grown like crazy and you don't necessarily know what to do with it, but you need help. That's where we can jump in and be like, yep, we can do that. We can do it from everything from, planning out what your succession planning should be long term for your employees that already work for you, to things like how to, like I mentioned, wage analysis.
Right.
And being competitive in the market and just things like that. So we're kind of like I'm lost and we'll help you get to where you need to go.
Well, and then as far as it's too expensive, I mean, I think that goes back to lawsuits and
exactly.
Work comp claims and things of that nature. When you start adding in all of those costs or all those risks, I mean, it is significantly. It's like a grain of sand on a beach compared to the possible litigation, lawsuits, fines, penalties, fees that you're going to need to pay if not following the protocols correctly.
And we have had a couple companies reach out to us where it was too late. Like they probably should have reached out to us a long time ago and they got themselves in some trouble. And we got them on the right track. But yeah, I mean, you want to get in front of that. You had mentioned earlier in the podcast about just questions you can't ask in an interview and things like that you think, well, I own this company, I can do whatever I want. Well, you can't.
Yeah.
So just kind of teaching you, creating a script for you, helping you stick to keeping you within compliance. We love that word here.
Within the confines of the law.
Exactly. And so you don't want it to be too late where you've tried to do it on your own too much and now you've got yourself in a pickle and now you're calling us. I mean, we'll still help, but you could have saved yourself a lot of time had you reached out to us sooner and got us on board to get you in the right direction. Yeah.
And you better believe that there are lawyers out there whose sole mission in life is to find the people who are not following, the law or being compliant with the regulations, to sue them into oblivion.
That's right.
And they're out there and they're looking for you.
Oh yeah, and we keep the ducks in the row for you.
Yep, 100%. Now the final myth, and then we're going to wrap this up. My employees will be confused about who they work for. This is something that kind of goes back to the first thing with the culture, but this is just managed through clear communication, We
already do this in staffing, right? So we'll do contract to hire positions where, your employees are working for you at your spot, but they're getting paid by us. They're reporting to us also with payroll and things like that. So we're already doing this on a day in, day out basis with all kinds of clients all over the country. So your employees, we're very good at keeping that
separated.
Yeah, that line in the sand, if you will.
And it's co-employment, so that you might be getting benefits and pay from our company. We're simply the employer of record. We're not your actual employer. We have nothing to do with whether you're getting bonuses or promotions or fired or whatever. It's completely within the existing management infrastructure.
Yeah. And I can even say, using us as a HR outsourcing, it might be the employee is correct and that we have to, so we might be on the employee side just because you don't know any better and then we have to teach you. So it's not necessarily about they're not understanding who they're working for as much as we make them understand that we're on everyone's side. We're on the employee side, we're on the company side. We just want to make sure everything's done correctly and everyone's treated fairly. And then also, keep in mind the fact that everyone is trying to save money right now. And so how can we be the most beneficial to you as a partner in your HR endeavors?
100%. And at the end of the day, the only way we can grow is if you can grow. So our main priority is to ensure that you have a healthy, profitable business that's going to be growing and moving forward into the future.
Correct.
So, well, I think that was a great discussion for today. So thank you, Sarah, for joining us. And thank you again to Jen. We really appreciate you. That's been it for the Malace Cast. Make sure to like and subscribe to this channel as well as our pages on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Malace Cast, the official podcast of Malace HR. Don't forget to subscribe now to Malace TV, available on YouTube, and we'll see you on our next Malace Cast.